Now for the Daily Press Review, and for that I'm joined by Oliver Ferry. And Ukraine, not surprisingly, is once again making big news.
That's right, and we're going to start with the left-leaning Libération. Its front-page headline is Crimea under Russian guidance. That uses a play on words on the French for Russian roulette, sous la houlette russe. Inside it notes that many of the pro-Kiev Crimeans boycotted the referendum on joining Russia, quoting one activist who said, "We had no choice. Boycotting is the only weapon we have." In its editorial headlined Contempt, it says Russian President Vladimir Putin set off the illegal annexation of Crimea in contempt of international law and of the whole world. And it says the military and political coup orchestrated by Putin sets a dangerous precedent and that his victory is Europe's failure. And it also points the finger at Barack Obama too, who they say was powerless in the face of Putin's hegemony. And it concludes by saying that the international community must remain firm in its condemnation of Russia.
Now, there's also been a return to the media spotlight for former French President Nicolas Sarkozy. Is he set for a comeback?
Well, according to Le Figaro, Nicolas Sarkozy remains the champion for 2017. Latest polls show that 62% of UMP voters, that is his own party, want him to run in the presidential election in 3 years' time.
I mean, it's not surprising for Le Figaro to come out with something like that, given it is a right-leaning newspaper.
Exactly, and it did poll UMP voters who pretty much like Sarkozy, not least because there doesn't really seem to be anyone else capable of running the party right now. And those figures show a steady hold on his popularity over the last 6 months, despite his ordeals when it was found out that he had been, his phone was tapped by investigating judges and a former aide had secretly recorded him too. Now, another poll published by Le Parisien says 55% of French voters think he would have made a better president than François Hollande had he been re-elected. But Sarkozy's also slipped in general popularity, with 54% of those polled in the same poll having a poor opinion of him. Now, what that says about François Hollande, I don't know.
Now, we've had some horrendous smog here in Paris in the last week, and it's actually having an effect, not surprisingly, on the election of Paris's mayor.
That's right. It is really, the headline in Le Figaro says pollution is shaking up the close of the campaign, and it was expected to be pretty much a quiet last few days for the socialist candidate Anne Hidalgo. And her UMP rival Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet has accused the socialist-run City Council of doing too little too late to deal with the crisis, having instigated alternative driving days and making public transport free. Hidalgo responds by saying that Kosciusko-Morizet, a former economy minister, was the minister for diesel and fostered diesel use while in government. France's heavy use of diesel cars has been blamed for the pollution. And Hidalgo also takes aim at the Greens. She says the vice president of the Paris regional transport company, Pierre Cern, who is a Green, signed off on an order of 320 diesel buses before Christmas. The Greens are crying foul, claiming that she's defaming the Greens and playing the man and not the ball.
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the city's municipal elections at the end of the month. Now, when it comes to the international press, let's talk about Ukraine again. And I'm interested to know, what are the Russian papers saying?
Well, the former Soviet paper of record, Izvestia, which is still very much a pro-government organ, carries on its front page pictures of jubilant Crimeans following the vote, and its headline reads, "Some people may not like it, but we're happy." And they're obviously referring to the Ukrainian authorities and the West, both of whom have condemned the vote as illegitimate. Now, the Ukrainian media is viewing it somewhat differently. The Kiev-based daily Den, or The Day, headlines on its front page, "Pseudo-referendum, concerns and proof of fraud." So even if many pro-Kiev Ukrainians boycotted the poll, there are accusations of tampering among those that did.
Now, finally, and this is a subject I know that's close to your heart, Oliver, and of course today is St. Patrick's Day. I've noticed there's no green, though. You're not wearing any green.
Yeah, I'm very unpatriotic, unfortunately.
Indeed. But there's a rather controversial article, isn't there, Oliver, on an American website?
There is. Salon.com has an opinion piece with a very provocative headline, "How did Irish Americans get so disgusting?" And it's written by an Irish American, film critic Andrew O'Hare. O'Hare, who is a liberal, bemoans a community that was historically democratic voting, but now it gives the world some of the more virulent right-wingers in the US, such as Fox News presenters Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, the Conservative commentator Pat Buchanan, and Republican Senator Peter King. He also deplores the lifestyle choice, which really remains the sole Irish-American identity today. It's a thoughtful piece which knows the ins and outs of Irish-American history and the relationship with the homeland. But he is a little bit strident. We see in we in Ireland have long seen our American cousins as being maybe not more conservative, but a little bit more inflexible in their conservatism. And not too surprisingly, the article has caused a bit of an uproar on St. Patrick's weekend, with a lot of disgust being shown in the comments section alone.
Well, Oliver, I hope you'll be going to the pub after this to have at least a glass of
Not
Guinness.
too early.
Oliver Ferry there with our daily press review. And now it's time for the sports, and we begin with the latest tennis action.
Novak Djokovic has won the Indian